Welcome to the Secret Sauce series of the Herb Weil Jewish Business Network, where business leaders in Columbus share their secret sauce. Today, we have a presentation from Dwight Smith, CEO of Sophisticated Systems, who will be sharing the secret sauce to how to live your purpose in business. After Dwight's presentation, we will be taking questions. If you have a question, please ask it in the Zoom chat, and we will try to get to as many as we can. The story is told about a business person in the old country who would from time to time travel to the international fair. When there, he would meet other business people from all around the continent. During his meetings, he would take the opportunity to spread uplifting and positive messages. When he returned home from the fair and met his rabbi and told him about the events of the fair, the rabbi commented, "I'm jealous of all the good that you are able to accomplish in the course of your business dealings. And in fact, the more business you do, the more good is spread." A message that we can take from this story is that sometimes the opportunities to do good that present themselves as we go about our day might in fact be a part of, and even a big part of, our purpose in life. And with that, it is my honor to ask my father, Rabbi Aryeh Kaltman, to introduce our speaker, Dwight Smith.
Thank you, Rabbi Yitzi. It is a distinct honor and pleasure to introduce a very dear friend, Dwight, today. And just one small word, because after all, Dwight is the founder of My Special Word. For thousands of years, Jewish tradition has maintained the power of words. I hate to do this, but there is a childhood song which we adamantly disagree with. "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me." That is so contrary to the reality. Sticks and stones create wounds, which will eventually heal, and everything will be okay. But words can stunt a child's development. A positive word can empower a child with confidence, with self-esteem, with the ability to soar in life. I applaud my dear friend Dwight for his contribution for us understanding the power of words. Together, we can give our kids a better future, a more promising tomorrow. And with that, I welcome my very dear friend, Dwight, who will speak words from his heart that will in turn enter ours. Dwight, please inspire us.
Rabbi, thank you so much. I'm not sure how to follow that introduction, but I am humbled and I'm so honored to be here today. I know that the day is coming when we will all be together again in person. But until that time, may we remain safe and healthy. I'm honored beyond words. And thank you for sharing about My Special Word. I think you just took my closing remarks and moved them to the beginning, because words are so powerful. And I want to share that a little later. But I really appreciate this opportunity to chat with you about living purpose in business. I'm really excited about the Q&A session, so we'll get to that fairly shortly. But if you think about it, when you look at the people on this call, together, our businesses and our careers, all the resources we have the ability to change the world. And when I think about what is my purpose, and I use the words purpose and passion interchangeably. So What I want to do, what I wake up every day thinking about is changing the world. I'm in my home office. I want to show you a sign. Hopefully you can see this. I see every day when I come into my home office, and it simply says, changing the world. So if you ask me what my purpose is, there it is. It's changing the world, and specifically for me, it's changing the world for our children. That's my passion. That's my purpose. And we don't have to pick and choose. It's not a situation where you can either do your career, run a business, or live with purpose. You can do both. I often ask entrepreneurs a very simple question. How are you doing? And too often I get the following answer. Well, business is good. Last week, we just closed a big deal. Last quarter, or I got this promotion. And I always stop and I say, that's great, but I didn't ask how business was going. I asked, how are you doing? Are you living out your passion? That's really what I want to know. We can talk about business later, but how are you doing? And so I have been blessed to run a technology firm in Central Ohio for 30 years. But I've often said to people, the business is what I do, but it's not the person I am. It is not my purpose. It is not my passion. May I share with you who I am as opposed to what I do? Who I am, and I never ever hide my faith. I'm a very committed Christian, and I love the Lord, and I'm also a mama's boy. And if you look over my shoulder, you'll see a really beautiful picture of a lady in orange. That would be my mother. I wanted to share a quick story with you about Mom. Once I was giving a talk, and Mom was in the audience, and someone said, well, tell me who you are. And I said, well, I'm a mama's boy. And I'm also a very committed Christian. And she stopped me after that. She said, boy, don't you ever get that wrong. See, you got it backwards. Don't ever put me before the Lord. She corrected me that day. So as my mother up there in heaven looks down on me, I just want to say, Mom, I got it right when I shared with who I am. I am a committed Christian, and I miss my mother. I am a mama's boy. Your business and your career doesn't really define who you are as a person. That is defined by your values, your decisions, and your actions. And I've often shared with people in business, don't ever let your net worth on your balance sheet define your net worth as a purpose, as a person. So I would ask you, what is your purpose? And if there's a call to action today, that call would be, if you haven't figured out what your purpose is in life, start thinking about that. Years ago, I read 2 books. The first book is called Halftime. The second book is called Finishing Well. Finishing well is kind of self-explanatory. But Halftime says we spend the first part of our lives building our careers, our resume, our experience, and then we start thinking about legacy. And I wonder why we have to get through the first half of our life to start thinking about legacy. Why not start right now? Sometimes there's a mentality that says, once I get mine, then I will give back and I will live out my purpose. I would suggest to you that you can live out your purpose as you advance your business and your career. We sometimes go through this exercise of checking the boxes, and maybe some of us have done this. It goes like this: education, check, got it. Job, check. Marriage, check. Home, check. Family, check. Now I can start thinking about my purpose. Never too early to start thinking about your purpose. What will you do to help others and to inspire others and to change the world? What is your purpose? And if this last year with COVID hasn't taught us anything, it has taught us that life can be turned upside down overnight. It's also taught us how reliant we are on one another. What is your purpose? In business, we often ask the question, and you've all heard it before, hey, what keeps you awake at night? I mean, that's the question that we typically ask in business. And it's generally tied to something around risk. What if I lose this client? What if this deal doesn't go the way I want? But when I think about what keeps me awake at night, and from a passion and a purpose standpoint, it's not that negative, what could go wrong. What keeps me awake at night is something that I can't wait to get up in the morning and get after. And that's changing the world. So I don't think about things that could go wrong. I think about things that can go right. 24/7, what's the purpose? And it's interesting because sometimes I get frustrated. I'm so committed to my purpose of changing the world that sometimes I go to bed and I say to my lovely wife, Renee, I just don't feel like I got enough done today. I had such aspirations based on purpose. And so she got me a sign. I brought it down. It sits in front of my alarm clock. The alarm clock never goes off because I'm up so early in the morning. But I roll over in the morning and I look at this because I'm so purpose-driven around changing the world. And I wanted to share this with you. I hope you get a chuckle and I hope you can read this. It says, I didn't get everything done in one day either. Signed, God. All right? Because every day, 24/7, 7 days a week, I just am so focused on living out purpose and changing the world. I can't really imagine what success looks like without purpose. I mean, if you think about it, a house or a car, those are all material things and they come and go. But purpose is something that stays in this world long after you're gone. I know, understand, and appreciate that businesses are in business to make money. I get that. But the very best business leaders, they're not just focused on the bottom line. We often talk about clients and stakeholders and the community. And one of my favorite Bible verses is very simple, and it goes like this. To whom much is given, much is required. Every one of us on this call, we have been given much. We are called to live out our purpose, which extends well beyond running a business. In terms of business, some purposes are regulated. You hear a lot of talk these days about ESG, environmental, social, and governance. That's a big topic that's in the boardrooms, and it's not going away. A lot of talk about social responsibility, and those conversations around mission and vision have expanded to purpose, and they're thinking about things and talking about things like climate change and social equity and those kind of things. And that's purpose in business. And it's interesting watching business leaders being called on to stand up and speak out about equality in society. That's a conversation we weren't having years ago, but we're having it now. But that's purpose as it relates to business. But what we're talking about today is personal purpose. And if you look around, there are so many examples, and I've been blessed to have dear friends that have shown me over time what living with purpose in business looks like. And there are hundreds of examples. If you think about it, I'll give you two. The passion and the purpose of four business leaders over 30 years ago decided they would come together and establish an organization called I Know I Can to provide scholarships to kids at Columbus City Schools. All successful business people, one who is a dear friend who I think is on this call today, all business leaders, great careers, lots of success, living purpose, giving opportunities to young kids in Columbus City Schools. That's a purpose-driven life. Second example, the Crane family and the Grody family, and this thing called the Reed Center on the south side of Columbus. That's purpose. That's taking your business expertise, your business success, your talent, and pouring it into others by living out their purpose. That's 24/7, 7 days a week. What is your purpose? Now, I'm gonna get in a little trouble here because I see my friend Lawrence Funderburg, see he's on this call, and this was not rehearsed, and he knows this. I'm gonna put you on the spot in a moment. Many of you know Lawrence. He is brilliant, he is God-filled, he's an incredible athlete that had a tremendous career at Ohio State and also in the NBA. But if you ask him, what is your purpose? I bet you that he doesn't start talking about basketball and his statistics. So I hope that we all have that purpose and that passion that Lawrence has. And Lawrence, when we get to the Q&A, I'd like to ask you to come off mute and maybe share your purpose. Now, I know I didn't ask you that in advance, right? And I just know you well enough to know that I'm forgiven when I make that ask, because you are a fine leader that lives out purpose every day. I'd like to share 2 examples of what living out purpose in business looks like for me. One is business related and one is personal, and it's just sharing and giving back. And I never would share these examples to boast. Many of you know me. I just share them as an example of what is possible. So our company handles technology deployments for many companies in Central Ohio. For one particular client, we have handled over 40,000 computers over the last 10 years. They order the computers, they ship them to our company, we image them, we asset tag them, we take them out, deploy them, bring back the old units, clean off all the data, sell them, and split the money back with the client. Renee and I have a foundation called the Thanks Be to God Foundation. And over the years, we have stepped into, the foundation has stepped into the middle of that transaction and bought computers at market, whatever they were selling at. And we've been blessed to send 700 computers to schools and libraries in Africa through an organization called Partners for Care. And we get letters back that talk about how lives are being changed in Kenya because of these used computers that we're sending over from Ohio. That's just simply taking purpose and incorporating it into a business process that we do each and every day at the company. The second example is more personal in nature, and that is Renee and I, and again, she's just absolutely awesome. We have made and continue to look at making small angel investments in startup companies because we want to support entrepreneurship. When you make these investments, you generally, they're not a lot of money, and you generally don't expect that you're going to get a return. But we made a commitment that when we make these investments, if we get any return, we put $1 in, if we get $2 back, that uplift, that extra dollar, we give 50% of that to a nonprofit that supports children. And that happens to be Nationwide Children's Hospital. And so when I wrote my notes last week, I said, I think we're going to see our first exit later this month. But God's will, last Friday, there was an exit. And someone bought out our shares in this startup. The money got wired into our account. And within an hour, we sent all 100% of the uplift to Nationwide Children's Hospital. Because that's a blessing that we didn't anticipate. And it's just a blessing of something that just happened. And it's really interesting because when we made these 6 investments in these startup companies, I got to call each one of the CEOs and say, we want to make a small investment in your company, but I really need you to be successful. Not for me, but because we're going to give what you give back to us. We're going to help, that helps us live out our purpose to give back to children. So I've got these 6 CEOs saying, get up every day, get out there and make it happen. Because then we get to send a check to Nationwide Children's Hospital. And you know what? They're in the business of saving lives. What is your purpose? And when you think about the talent and the expertise on this call today, if we all committed to defining and living out our purpose, think of what we can do individually and collectively to change the world. I'd ask you to indulge me for just a few more minutes. I'd like to share with you a little bit more about my special word, which has been just a tremendous blessing. And it is part of the passion of changing the world for children. So many years ago, we've always known the power of words to lift up, but also to tear down. And we have this incredible love for children. So we started asking children 4 very simple questions. And here are the questions. And by the way, this works with adults. I hope that you ask yourself the questions. The first question is, what is your special word? What is the word you would use to describe the person you are or the person you aspire to be? That's the first question. The second question is, why did you pick your word? Share with me your story. The third question is, how are you living out your word? Personal commitment. And the fourth question is, what can I do? What can we do to help you become that very special person that you aspire to be? It's simple, but it's powerful. And here's what we believe. If we can change the words that we use, we can change the conversations we have. If we can change the conversations, we can change behaviors. And if we change behaviors, we can change the world. That's what I want to do. I want to change the world for children. And you think about COVID and the isolation, and kids have really struggled over the last year. Isn't it time to tell them, we love you, you are special. Let's celebrate you. So I wanted to share that, but I also wanted to share this with the adults on this call for the following reason. We live in a divided world today. We argue about things like, do we wear a mask or do we not? Do we get a vaccination or do we not? And we argue about very complex issues like systemic racism. Words and conversations, even when we disagree, we can come together, have positive functional conversations, and come to more positive outcomes. Or we can use negative words, create anger and frustration, and end up with an insurrection on January 6th in our nation's capital. I believe that children understand the importance and power of words. I believe that we as adults should learn from our children and understand and respect as we use words and create conversations that bring about solutions that move us all forward so that we can all live out our purpose. I'd ask us all to respect and think deep and long about the words that we use and make sure that they're always positive and uplifting and inspiring. And together, we can make the world a better place for all people. And know this, that as we use our words and we're having our conversations, our children are listening. So I would close with two final quick thoughts. Number one, well, a couple things. First of all, thank you for allowing me to share. Can't wait to get to the Q&A. And then also, I'd ask you to keep thinking about what is your purpose. But I waited till the end because there's something that I just found out within the hour that he was going to be on this call. I have a friend that I would say privately and publicly, and I get very emotional about this, that I absolutely love. And his name is Bob Weiler, and I believe he's on this call. And many of you know Bob, maybe all of you know Bob, and you know that recently he lost his lifelong partner, Missy, who was absolutely awesome. And by the way, she had a special word, and it was gratitude, and she lived it every day. But my friend Bob is, I believe he's with us. And Bob, I just want to say to this group, but especially to you, I love you, I honor you, and you have touched the lives of so many people on this call and in this community, myself included. And so with that, if it's okay with you, I'll open it up to Q&A, and I'm honored and I'm humbled beyond words to be here with you today. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much for those very powerful words. My father asked me, typically we start immediately with the Q&A. My father asked me to share one powerful point, I guess, in the theme of what you talked about. The great Jewish sage, Dr. Rabbi Maimonides, said that when we go about our lives, we have to look at the world like it's a 50-50 scale, 50% good and 50% bad. And one positive action, one positive word has the ability to tip the scale in the way of good, in the direction of good, and transform the world into a positive, into a world that is a good world. So my father asked me to share that, and we'll share that. And I shared that. And now we are going to open the floor to questions. If you have a question.
Do you think Lawrence would say a few words about his purpose? Because
yes,
I know he is committed and all in. So Lawrence, would you mind, please?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, first of all, thank you, Rabbi Shabbat Center, for hosting this. Dwight, you're one of my favorite people, one of my mentors from afar and in close. And I was just talking about this today. I had a board meeting, I won't say from the association, and I was commenting on the guy's tie, and I said, "Man, I like that tie." I said, "Where's the jacket?" I said, "You gotta have a jacket with it." So he talked about it. He says, "Well, I like your jacket," and I said, "Okay." I said, "I got a hoodie on, and the reason why I wear a hoodie is not because of a movement; it's because of a moment." I remember the moment when I was in the hood, when I was in the ghetto, when I was told I would be nothing but a poor kid from the ghetto, right? And it is my responsibility now. And I'm not knocking the movement. I'm not degrading it or demeaning it or defaming it, but it's always about a moment with me because I remember those times when I was in the hood. So I go back in the hood, and my responsibility for Team Hoodie is to protect the minds of the young people. So a hood is to protect your mind. So my responsibility is to protect all of the negative downloads that are being put in their minds, right? I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I can't make it, I'm gonna be a criminal, my life is gonna lead to prison. So my responsibility, and you're right, Dwight, basketball was not my purpose, it was my platform to land me in my purpose. And purpose always is about people, right? And your purpose is the assignment you were placed on this earth to accomplish for the benefit and betterment of others, and hopefully, and for me as a man of faith, to give glory and honor to the Lord. So I love what you said. I challenge all of you, do not confuse your business purpose with the purpose that you're called to complete on an individual basis. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Oh, thank you, Lawrence. That's awesome. And by the way, if anyone else wants to jump in and share their purpose, or if they have a special word, I know we're doing Q&A, but this is a discussion, not a presentation. And I'm just honored and look forward to hearing from everyone.
So if anyone would like to jump in, please direct message me on the Zoom chat, and we can do that. And because everyone's on mute, but we can allow someone to unmute themselves if they want to share something. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, we have someone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alan, you're on.
Dwight,
Hey, Alan.
Alan Proctor, so great to see you. It's
Good to see you, my friend.
pandemic has its lonely aspects to it.
I know.
What I wanted you to comment on is we all know how important it is to help children, but when we really look at some of the issues that have been raised by Black Lives Matter and frankly by this expanding economic divide, we see that despite our efforts to focus on children and make everything, have people have a productive life, there's an awful lot of adults who have never been able to plug into the world. I'm thinking of people who have been victims of trafficking, people who have had a jail experience but aren't able to get a job. And when this pandemic is over and our focus on emergency needs is over, what can we do to really lift up those that were ignored for so long? They've grown up and they never had that chance.
And so I think that an America that is all that it can be and should be and will be has to work for all people. It's a really interesting question. I am honored and blessed. I serve on the Federal Reserve Board out of Cleveland, and we have a lot of conversations about social equity and poverty, and the lift out of poverty, and what does that look like? And it's, when you look at the data, it's no secret that Black and brown people are the last people to benefit in an economy that is getting better. And yet the first to suffer when it drops, and the last to benefit coming back. So as we think about the economy and what it looks like, how do we at the Federal Reserve create an economy that works well for America, that it's inclusive to all people? What's really interesting is we got a letter from an elected official recently that said, and I commented back to President Mester out of Cleveland, that said the Federal Reserve ought to stay out of the discussion. You shouldn't be talking about racial inequality and social injustice. Stay in your lane. And climate control, right? Don't talk about that. Talk about inflation and talk about unemployment. I think the answer is, how do you address an economy for America, for our great country, without being honest with yourself about systemic racism and the fact that unemployment looks very different? And then how do we create opportunities in this great country that I love so much for upward mobility? What does that look like for adults? We talk about education. I was talking to someone earlier today, and people say, we've got to close the education gap. Kids in the 3rd grade or 5th grade or whatever, they're behind. And I thought, why don't we think about not closing the gap when kids are in elementary school? Why don't we address it in pre-K so there is no gap in the first place? You know, Alan, you think about inequities and we think again about adults. It is insane, but the data supports this, that where you live determines how long you live. We've seen that data at the Columbus Foundation. Many of us on this call have seen it before. I can't understand why, if I live, and I'll use this as an example, if I live on the corner of Cleveland Avenue and the left, I live a shorter life than if I drive up Cleveland Avenue to Westerville. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think in this country that we all love, and I'll use children as an example, I think every child in America should have a quality education, a safe home, good health care. We have the resources, the opportunities, and wherewithal to create an equal society. This is not a zero-sum game. To create an equal society for all people. The question is, do we have the will to stand up and make that happen? So I just think that, Alan, we've got to have these tough conversations. And then we get to choose if we're going to go forward or are we going to go backwards. I am a man of faith and hope and prayer, and I believe that our brightest days are behind. And it disturbs me that we are so divided today, but we will push by this. We will move to a brighter day. So I don't know if I answered your question. I know I gave a long dissertation, but as you can tell, I'm slightly passionate about that topic.
So we have a question. Thank you. We have a question here from Mr. Luis Olivio. Luis.
Hello, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you to Rabbi Coleman, and thank you everybody to give me this opportunity. This is new for me, okay? So bear with me, okay? I just want to give you a little bit of background. I don't know how much time do I have, but I want to tell you my purpose, okay? That I think I find out my purpose. It's very important question that you, Mr. Dwight Smith, make today and make me think. Since I was a little boy, my grandfather before died, he told me this. Listen, grandson, everybody in life, not everybody can be a lawyer. Not everybody can be a doctor. Not everybody can be a teacher, because God gave us a function on this world. So I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna show you one thing that is gonna make you very important. I'm gonna give you a gift. That was my grandfather, father of my mother. He reached under his bed and he gave me this wood box. And that wood box was things to clean shoes. And I asked my grandfather, I was 7 years old. He said, what am I gonna do with this? I don't know, is that a cleaning thing for shoes? He said, yes, grandson, I'm gonna teach you how to clean shoes, okay? Because if you learn this task and you become the best of the best, you always going to be a successful shining shoes boy. And you always gonna have money. If you use this knowledge that I'm giving you and you learn and you are very disciplined and doing what I'm gonna teach you, you're gonna be very, very successful in life. That was when I was 7 years old. So he showed me how to clean shoes, and then later on he died. And then I was living with my mom and my sister. We were very, very poor in third world country, Venezuela, okay, South America. Then
but they have the Shabbat. They have
Now what?
Yeah.
Go on.
Can I proceed? Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bob Weiler.
Okay. Wait a second.
We were so poor, and then my mother was working in an office.
You know, actually, wait a second.
They're having a meeting with every.
Wait a second.
rabbi,
I'm sorry.
a bunch of important people.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Hey, Bob.
They have Dwayne Smith.
Okay, yes. Good. Okay.
Hi,
That's
Dwight,
it.
Rabbi. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Great conversation.
No, thank you. We're so honored for you to join us. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I'm in the car. That's why I.
No, don't worry. You know, Bob, something you told me many, many years ago on Sunday when we had the programs, you mentioned that
Yes.
the problem is that there's not enough father figures in the homes of kids. And Luis is telling us about his grandfather and how his grandfather, when he was 7 years old, he was given a present from him and how it inspired him to be the best he could be. And just from that one little statement, he was able to change his life and he was able to grow and to give life the best chance he had.
Well, and it's so true. Unfortunately, there are those who don't have a single role model in their lives, and they're so difficult for them to succeed. And that's why I'm really so proud of what Dwight's doing, and you too, for that matter, all these years, because you're giving kids a role model, you're giving them hope, you're giving them a word, you're giving them confidence. And I'm really, really proud of you and grateful for you and for our friendship.
No, thank you. And we're humbled and we're honored to have you as a friend and for you to share your son Skip as our chairman. You know, we're very, very humbled. And Luis, he just came to America and from Venezuela. And the conversation he had with his grandfather when he was 7 years old literally changed his life because he had a father figure. He had a role model who could inspire him to be the best he can be.
Luis, you want to finish?
Yes. So at that early age, that was 7, I learned a task to how to clean shoes. So that way, we used to go to school. My mom thought that, well, I'm going to place my kids in a rich school so they can get a better education. So she placed us on a Catholic church. And that was the worst mistake that my mom could do for us because we were poor, my sister and myself. We used genetic shoes, genetic uniform, and then all those rich Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, they were using the best. But I told my sister, we come over here to get an education. We don't come in over here to see who got Nikes, Adidas, or that kind of the brand shoes. We were gonna make through, but it was very, 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 very hard for us because the bullying is sick. You have no idea. Bullying has been there for years and decades and centuries. But the bullying was very, very hard for us. And then I took a decision at 7 years, going to 8, to work. I said, well, listen, sister. My sister was 6 years old. And then I said, listen, we go to the school from 6 a.m. till noon. My mom goes to work from 6 till 7. So we go back to 1-bedroom room, okay? We 3 live together. And then we're gonna be alone from noon till 6. And I told my sister, listen, you have to be brave like me. You have to be very hard and very brave. Stay locked up, do your homework until I come back because I'm going to work. And my sister, she was little, say, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna clean shoes. She started laughing. But then I walked like a 10 miles from where we were to downtown, and I sat on a business building where I knew there was business people with suits and everything else, and I started cleaning shoes. My first one, I make 25 bolivares. It's equal $25 back 30 years ago. And the first thing I did, I came back home, I bought food because we used to eat once a day, 1 piece of bread with white cheese and coffee. That was our meal for many, many years until I started working. Then I came back home and I did my homework. And then my mom came over, how you doing, guys? Is everything okay? Okay, mom. But my mom started noticing there was food in the refrigerator. And then later on, I bought new shoes for my sister, myself, and I keep on buying food, okay? So my mother started talking to me, and I had to tell my mom the truth. I told my mom, listen, you know, Grandpa, before he died, he told me this, and that. And then I'm working. So my mom started crying and she said, you are the man of the house. I said, but you still listen to me because I'm your mom? I said, yes, I will listen to you. So to make a long story short, at the age of 13, I own 12 cleaning shirts. I called one of my friends, my neighbor, said, listen, Jose, do you want to make some money? He asked me, who we have to kill? No, we don't have to kill nobody. Who we have to rob? No. I'm going to show you how to clean shoes. I'm going to give you the whole material, and then you give me the 10%. Okay. So they thought that I was joking. So they start cleaning shoes and seeing 5 bolivares, 7 bolivares, 8 bolivares, 10, 20. They got all ambitious, and they give me the 10%, and I let them to work. So at the age of 14, I bought my first car. I was 14 years old.
You know,
And then
Luis,
I got my first car.
you know what you're showing? You're showing what Dwight said is so true. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. When you have a father figure, when you have a positive word, you can change your life. And the rabbis say that we're compared to trees because when a tree starts growing, if it grows proper and straight, it won't become crooked. And because you had a grandfather that cared about you, and because you had a grandfather that gave you the right words, your life is one of integrity and of meaning and of purpose. And the whole idea is, and that's what America's all about, is growing out of poverty and giving everyone the opportunity to be empowered to be the best they can be. And that you're a walking testimony to the power of a father, a mother, a positive role model, and a positive word. That, you know, Dwight, you've never met Luis, but it says it all.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you someday. I truly do.
Yeah.
It's very excited.
I took the same principle when I came over here. I took the same principle. Be good what you're doing. And I did not know what to do. So I work construction, I work landscaping, I paint, I babysit dog, and something was missing until I find out that my mission was serve to people. So that's why I'm wearing. I don't wearing a hood like the gentleman that was there, which was very nice speech. I'm wearing a uniform because when I wear this uniform, I feel good. I feel like I can protect the life of other people. I can serve everybody. And just to see the faces that they are happy when I helping people, old people, young people, people with disability, people, when I help, I love my job. My job is not a
Luis,
job, it's an adventure.
You are a living testimony to the word, to the power of words.
Hey, may I share my special word?
Please.
So, and by the way, you know, when you keep these cool things around you, I have this thing here that says, which I think you would agree, it says, your voice can change the world. So my special word is painted on a rock. It's right here. It's sold, S-O-L-D. And again, remember I said the business is what I do. It's not who I am. So my special word is sold. I've had it for many, many years. And the theory is we're all sold out to something. And when you're sold out, you are completely committed, all in, 100%, no looking back. Maybe we call that purpose. And I happen to be sold out to Christ. That's why I keep this rock. The S, it stands for silence because the Bible talks about the power of words to lift up, but also to tear down. So I try every day to be very careful with the words that I use. The O stands for obedience. And I've often said to young people, if you believe someone loves you, cares for you, and has your best interest at heart, don't you want to be obedient? The L stands for leverage. To whom much is given, much is required. Every one of us on this call today, we have talents and gifts. The question becomes, what will we do with our talents to make a difference in the world? How will we leverage our talents? And the D stands for discipline, to do the right thing the right way every day. So every morning, including this morning, I wake up and I say this simple prayer: Lord, give me strength to live out my special word today. May I be sold out. May I speak positive words. May I be obedient. May I leverage the blessings you've given me, and may I be disciplined. And every night when I go to bed, I ask myself, how did I do today? Did I live out my special word? Am I evolving to that person that I want to become? And throughout the day, I use that as a guiding light. as I'm making decisions and I'm interacting with people. And think about what that would look like. And I think the word we used earlier, if it was a worldwide movement. Wouldn't it be cool if children all over the world are saying, can I share with you who I am? I got a story to tell. Wouldn't it be great when it moves from the classroom to the living room where a child and a parent, they're talking about, we left the session one time and a young man was holding his mother's hand and he looked up at her and he said, hey, Mom, my special word was smart. She looked down at him and she said, you certainly are. And they headed on out to the car. So how do we create a simple yet powerful movement to uplift people all around the world? And I think about this country that we live in that I love, America, but I also have a global perspective on things. I saw in the news today that high wealth companies are doing a really good job, a pretty good job of getting vaccinated. But yet countries that are developing versus developed are not getting a lot of vaccinations. It's stalled. And so it just feels unfair to me that people that are born in poverty and countries that are impoverished will suffer so greatly in regards to COVID. Again, I think we have the resources not only to vaccinate people in Central Ohio, not only to vaccinate people around the country, but we're going to have to lean in and figure out how to vaccinate people around the world, because COVID is not a Columbus problem and it's not a US problem. It's a global issue, and it won't be the last time we see one of these. And I've always believed that we're stronger together. And I hope that COVID and our current situation doesn't drive us further apart. I hope and pray that it brings us closer together. And I think this conversation today is indicative of the mentality that people feel, that we are better together, that having a purpose and living it out can be life-changing, not only for us individually as individuals, but also the impact that we can make on society.
Yeah, that was beautiful, and I concur with what you say. There was a Rabbi Schniss, of blessed memory, and he said that if the power of negativity, one person could be on one side of the world to press a button and, God forbid, blow up another part of the world, how much more so when we do a good deed, like Yitzi quoted Maimonides, we can bring redemption, we can bring meaning, we can bring purpose to the world, and that's why we're here, to help people. If we know
Amen.
Aleph and Bet only 2 letters and someone else only knows Aleph 1 letter, our commitment and our mission in life is to share that.
Yeah,
I agree.
and I want to we have a question on the Zoom chat, and anyone who else has a question, please put it on the Zoom chat.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
I know. Let me try to deal with that.
Okay.
Okay. This background was from. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Thank you, Dwight. This is the question. Thank you, Dwight, for your important and well-articulated message. Can you please share a little about your background with us, since we are all the sum total of our experiences?
Yes, you bet. Thank you. So I grew up in Springfield, Ohio. I was raised by a single mother, 4 kids. And it was interesting because we had very little in regards to material things, but we never knew that because there was so much love in our household. I think one of the most important things that a parent can do is to introduce their children or expose their children to God. And that's what my mother did for me. But I grew up in Springfield. It's interesting. I never flew on an airplane until I graduated from college. I took a job at IBM, and I continued to take interviews because I wanted to get on an airplane. I mean, we just didn't have the means to experience a lot of things. I've been so blessed now to have traveled to 6 continents, to travel the world, to hear and interact with people from different cultures, which is really fantastic. But I grew up in Springfield, came to Columbus to go to Ohio State University. Did undergrad and grad school at Ohio State, then took a job at IBM, moved around several times. And then I went to work for a small company with P&L responsibilities. And I've often said to entrepreneurs, if you want to start your own business, make sure you learn about P&L on someone else's nickel before it's your very own. And then 31 years ago, I was blessed. I wrote a business plan, thought about it, prayed about it, quit my job, and founded a company. But I'll end this part with the way I started. I'm blessed to have run a company, but that's not who I am. What I've learned through life is it's so much more important to give than it is to receive, and to be humble and to be thoughtful and to be kind, because you can never give too much kindness back into the world. So single mother, she was awesome. And it's interesting because my dad, who is still living, we're not as close. He's very smart, but just has a very different value system. I love and respect him. But, it's interesting. I was interviewed recently and I wrote, and you've all heard me say this before, I'm a mama's boy. My mother poured so much into me, into the person that I am. And my dad actually reached out to me when he saw the article and he said, "What about me? You didn't mention me in the article." He got very upset. And I said in a kind and loving way, "I love you, but it was my mom that poured into me. And I will acknowledge you as my dad, but you really can't take credit for the good that's in my soul. That came from my mother." And I'll tell you one story. Bob Weiler is aware of this because he was very helpful to me during this. So my mother was in a nursing home in Xenia, Ohio. I never will forget the day she went in hospice, and I went over to talk to the doctors. And I said, "Doctor, you got to tell me, what are we thinking about time frame?" And he said, "You should think in terms of days and weeks, not months." My mother lived for 18 months after that. For 3 days a week, regardless of the weather or the season, I was blessed to drive over to Xenia, 75 miles each way. 3 days a week for 18 months, just to sit there and hold her hand. And I'll never forget that. She poured into me, my very being, the importance of Christ and loving Christ and loving people till her last breath. And when I was going through that very difficult time, it was really dear friends like Bob Weiler who would call and say, "How you doing?" And I'd share that with them. And I think there might be others on the call that did that. So that's my background. You can probably hear two common themes, and I said them at the beginning. I love the Lord, and I'm thankful for my mother. And by the way, thankful for my lovely wife. That's our wedding picture. We've been married, be 16 years this October. And please note that it was within arm reach of where I sit, which it always is. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope that I have a long runway in front of me. But every day, I want to live life, and I'm going to gauge how I'm living life by how much I can pour into others, because that's my purpose.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jeff and Michael and Lawrence, for the positive, beautiful feedback. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. And I want to thank the Weil family, Herb Weil, who's with us now, for being the platform, for making the platform where all this beautiful, meaningful, powerful discussion is taking place. And thank you everyone for joining us today in this conversation. Thank you, Dwight, again, for all that inspiration. And with that, we're going to wrap up our questions. I want to remind everyone that our next Secret Sauce is May 4th with Brett Kaufman, who will be sharing the secret sauce of how to lead in challenging times. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
God bless you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
With all of us.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.